When you think about credit card fraud, you're probably worried about losing your wallet or maybe a shady website stealing your full card number. But what if I told you the real danger could start with just the first six digits? Yeah, we're going to dive into a pretty sneaky cyber attack that starts right there. See, every single card you have is like a carefully crafted key. It's designed to give you, and only you, access to your money. But just like any key, it has specific features. Features that can be copied, or in this case, guessed. We've all been trained to protect the important stuff, right? The full card number, the expiration date, that little three-digit CVV on the back. But the craziest part is that a huge vulnerability might be hiding in plain sight in those first six numbers. So let's unpack how that's even possible. Okay, so to really understand the attack, we first have to crack the code on the card itself. Because believe it or not, those numbers aren't random at all. They actually tell a very specific story. And this is the key to the whole thing. The first six digits have a name, the bank identification number, or BIN. It's basically the public-facing part of your card number, and its job is to identify the bank that issued it. It's kind of amazing how much information is packed into just these six little numbers. They tell a payment terminal everything it needs to know to get started: who the issuing bank is, the card network, like Visa or MasterCard, and even what type of card it is. Is it debit, credit, prepaid? It's basically the card's digital postal code, telling the transaction where to go before it even starts. So, you might be wondering, if the BIN is basically public info, how does it become the starting point for a crime? Well, it's all about what criminals do with that first little piece of the puzzle. A BIN attack is pretty much a high-tech guessing game. It's what's called a brute force attack, where criminals use software to just try thousands and thousands of combinations until something clicks. They grab a known six-digit BIN, and then they unleash automated programs, bots, to just rapidly generate and test every single possible card number that could come after it. The whole process is super systematic and totally automated. First, they get their hands on a BIN. Then, the bots get to work creating this massive list of potential card numbers. But here's the really clever and dangerous part. Step 3, the testing. The bots start hitting online stores with tiny transactions. They're not trying to buy anything, just waiting for one approved message. And each time they get one, bingo, they found a real, active card which gets put on a list for much bigger, much more damaging fraud later on. So the attack itself is all digital and automated, but its consequences? Oh, they are very, very real. Let's take a look at the damage this kind of thing leaves in its wake. Now, an attack on this scale isn't exactly subtle. From a bank's point of view, it leaves a really loud and clear digital footprint. So what are the red flags that scream an attack is happening right now? Well, the first and most obvious sign is just the sheer volume. A bank's security system will suddenly see thousands upon thousands of failed transaction attempts, all coming from cards that share the exact same first six digits, the same BIN. And here's another huge red flag. All those thousands of attempts, they're often all aimed at a single online merchant, usually one that has slightly weaker security. The bots just cycle through their generated list, hitting the same payment page over and over and over again. And they're not trying to buy a TV or anything. The goal here is information, not stuff. These test transactions are for pennies, maybe $1 at most. All the attacker needs is a simple yes or no from the payment system to find out if the card number they just guessed is real. The damage just ripples outward from there. For the banks, it's not just the money lost to fraud. It's also the cost of handling chargebacks, reversing those phony transactions, and of course, the long-term damage to customer trust. But for you, the customer, it's an absolute nightmare. It's the shock of seeing charges you didn't make, the frustration of having your card blocked right when you need it, and all the stress and wasted time that goes with fixing it. All right, I know this all sounds pretty alarming, but here's the good news. You are not powerless here. There are some really simple, concrete steps you can take to shield yourself from this kind of fraud. Think of this as your personal defense checklist. First things first, turn on your transaction alerts. SMS, push notifications, whatever you can get. They're your early warning system. Second, if you ever see a tiny weird charge you don't recognize, question it immediately. It could be a test. Third, and this is a big one, never ever share security codes like your CVV or a one-time password. Also, look into using virtual cards for online shopping. They create a temporary number so your real one stays safe. And finally, setting transaction limits on your cards can stop a huge loss before it even happens.
At the end of the day, while all the technology and fancy security systems are absolutely essential, they're only one half of the equation. The other half? Well, that's you.
This really is the formula. It's that simple. Banks have their part to play, for sure, with sophisticated monitoring and fraud detection, but the system is only truly secure when you, the customer, are also paying attention. Your awareness is the one thing no algorithm can ever replace. Ultimately, it all comes down to a three-pronged defense: the bank's powerful monitoring systems, its automated controls that can spot weird patterns, and your personal awareness. When all three of those things are working together, that security shield becomes incredibly strong.
So let's end with this question. Your card's first 6 digits are kind of public, pointing the way to your bank. The real question is, how well are you protecting the rest of the numbers that follow? Something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.